In recent weeks, a video went viral on Nigerian X, Twitter, and in this video, a group of Nigerians were on a boat and they were at the Blue Cave in Montenegro. Now, this cave appeared to be a quiet, naturally beautiful, and acoustically sensitive space, the kind of place where the whole point was to sit in silence and listen to the water and just admire the beautiful scenery. But these Nigerians came with a very loud speaker and they were playing Asake's music very loudly and obviously disturbing the quietness they met at the cave. Now, when this video was trending, Nigerian X was split into half. People dropped a lot of opinions and think pieces. On one hand, most people were embarrassed and they thought the acts of these Nigerians to be inconsiderate. There were even talks of this is why foreigners don't respect us. I can understand racism because of things like this. And on the other hand, some people were saying, let Nigerians have their fun. Why must the Nigerian joy always be policed? And so this got me thinking, and I decided to do a little bit of investigation into the question that was not really answered in all of these arguments, which was that why did it make complete sense to these people to do such a thing? Why are Nigerians tending to act this way? And today we find out the answer to that question with science. I am Angelo, and this is the Clarity Podcast. This is a special short episode, so there will be no heavy economics, no very serious discourse, just a genuinely fascinating question about the culture of Nigerians. Let us get right into it. Now, here's the first thing the science tells us, and it puts every other thing that follows into perspective. Volume is not universal. What counts as a normal speaking voice in one culture can be aggressive in another and whisper quiet in a third culture. So there is no objective correct volume for human communication. There is only what a specific culture in a specific environment over a specific period of time decided was appropriate. And researchers who study cross-cultural communication have documented this extensively. For example, when Nigerians and British people interact, Nigerians frequently experience British communication as cold, disengaged, and borderline rude. Meanwhile, British people experience Nigerian communication as aggressive, overwhelming, and exhausting. Same conversation, but completely different experiences. Now, because they are applying their own cultural acoustic standards to someone else's communication, this is why the experiences differ. Now, neither side is wrong and neither side is right. They are just speaking different acoustic languages. And the problem is that one of those languages, which is the quiet one, has been associated with education, refinement, and civility by global institutions for so long that the louder one gets treated as the deviation that needs correcting. It does not need correcting, and here are reasons why. Now, there are 4 reasons why the Nigerian quote-unquote loudness does not need correcting. The first is the outdoor oral tradition. Now, Nigeria's pre-colonial communication was built for outdoor communal spaces. Elements like the village square, the open-air markets, the compound, the town crier, the praise singers. All of these required a certain vocal projection as a basic competency. Volume was not rudeness in this context. It was skill. Most people who could be heard across the market, whose voice carried to the back of the gathering, and who could hold the crowd with the sound of their voice alone, those people were respected. Volume signaled presence, authority, and investment in the community. And this tradition does not just disappear when the architecture changes. It is embedded in the cultural memory and in the communication instinct passed from generation to generation. The Nigerian who walks into a room and feels it vocally is not being inconsiderate. They are at a very deep level doing what their cultural inheritance told them presence sounds like. Now, the second reason is that Lagos is very loud. This sounds obvious, but the science behind it is quite interesting. Research on urban acoustics consistently show that people in high-density, high-noise urban environments recalibrate their baseline speaking volume upwards. Now, your brain continuously adjusts your vocal output To compete with ambient noise, Lagos has approximately 7,000 people per square kilometer in some areas. It is one of the densest urban environments on earth. The street is loud, the market is loud, the buses are loud. 3 conversations are happening simultaneously in the same room. So your brain does the maths and turns up the volume. And over time, that recalibration becomes your default setting, even when you are somewhere quiet, even when you're in a cave. Now, those men on that boat, they were not being deliberately loud. They were operating on a volume setting that their environment had calibrated into them over years. They were not even thinking about it. That is the point. Now, the third reason is volume is information. Now, here's the dimension that most of the outside world almost do not understand. In Nigerian cultural communication, how loud you say something is part of what you are saying. A loud voice usually signals confidence. It signals that you actually believe what you are saying, and also signals that you are present, engaged, and invested. Speaking quietly in certain Nigerian contexts signals the opposite. It can signal uncertainty, submission, or a lack of conviction. The quiet person is sometimes the one whose credibility is questioned, not the loud one. And now the fourth reason, and frankly my favorite discovery, is that loudness is literally bonding. Now, Robin Dunbar, who is a researcher, studied social bonding mechanisms, and one of his findings is this: shared loud vocalization, including communal singing, chanting, and high-volume group conversation, triggers endorphin release in a way that quiet conversations simply do not. Now, the noise at a Nigerian party is not just the byproduct of people having fun. The noise is part of how the fun works. The loudness is producing the bonding. Your brain is releasing chemicals that encode the people around you as a community, as yours, because of the shared sound you are generating together. The Nigerian Owambe is loud because it is supposed to be loud. The loudness is the mechanism. The community is building itself in real time through the noise. And those people who turned on their speaker in the boats at the cave, at a neurological level, they were reaching for exactly that same feeling. A certain level of connection, presence, if you might say, and they were signaling to the other people on the other boats in the cave that we are here together and you can hear it. Now here's the part of the Nigerians in the cave with the music arguments that nobody was quite saying out loud. A lot of the criticism of those men did not come from non-Nigerians. It came from other Nigerians, specifically from Nigerians who have lived abroad, who have been educated in quieter environments, and who now associate loud public behavior with a lack of sophistication. And I want to address that directly, because there is a difference between learning to code switch, which is to adjust your communication style for different environments, and deciding that the louder version of yourself is something to be ashamed of. Code switching on its own is a skill, and every person who moves between cultures does it. You speak differently in a boardroom than you do at an Owambe party. That is not self-betrayal. That is simply social intelligence. But the idea that Nigerian volume is inherently uncultured, inherently embarrassing, and inherently something to be fixed, that idea has absorbed a bias that is worth examining, because what it is really saying is that the acoustic standards of cultures that have historically held more global power are the correct ones, and the science does not support that. Volume on its own is a language. Nigerian culture developed that language for specific historical, environmental, and social reasons that make complete sense once you understand them. You can choose when to turn it up and when to turn it down, but you do not need to be ashamed of it. So finally, why are Nigerians loud? First, because of an outdoor oral tradition that builds volume into the definition of presence. Also because Lagos has recalibrated most people's baseline. And also because in Nigerian communication, how loud you speak is part of what you're saying. And finally, because the noise at a Nigerian gathering is not a side effect of the community. It is how the community is being built. The loudness is the bonding mechanism. Your endorphins are firing because of the shared sound. The Owambe works because it is loud. And the men on that boat in the cave were not exactly being inconsiderate. they were just being Nigerian. This is the clarity. And this has been a Clarity Podcast special episode. I am Angelo, and if this episode made you feel seen or made you want to send it to someone who always tells you to keep it down, please share it to them and let the science speak for itself. Thank you for listening. New episodes every week, and as always, think clearly.